Does the dying process look different for someone dying of an acute disease versus someone dying of a chronic disease? The truth is, it does look different. In this video, I'm going to talk about the two types of people I see on hospice. One with an acute disease, I'll explain what that means. One with a chronic disease, I'll explain what that means, and how their dying process looks different on hospice. So an acute disease, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is someone who's usually coming onto hospice with some kind of metastatic advanced cancer. Now, usually they had this cancer for maybe 6 months, maybe a year, sometimes years, depending on the type of cancer, but it's usually something that's pretty acute, meaning it hasn't been this way for very long. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people can come onto hospice with cancer and they have had this cancer or some form of it for 10 years. That definitely can happen. That's not an acute disease, but it still will likely look pretty similar to someone who comes onto hospice who just got diagnosed with cancer 6 months ago and now they're already on hospice. That is an acute disease, okay? The chronic disease, the terminal illness that's also chronic, is the other type of patient that I see. And those diseases are dementia, Alzheimer's. Dementia and Alzheimer's, they look pretty similar. Parkinson's disease, COPD, which is a lung disease, any kind of lung disease, any kind of heart disease, so CHF is the one we typically see. All of these diseases, those people have been living with for a long time, 10, 15, 20 years, and now they're finally coming onto hospice with this very advanced disease. Now, there are some outliers here. Of course, it's not always that easy to categorize people in two different groups. There are definitely people who are out here that are not going to follow this pattern. But generally speaking, this is what it will look like. And they do look different. So first, coming onto hospice with an acute disease versus one of these chronic diseases. It's more difficult to get onto hospice with the chronic illness because it's hard for us as healthcare workers to prove to Medicare that this person's chronic disease is advanced enough that they have less than 6 months to live. There's a lot of criteria that goes into that.